Hey everyone, Tim the Collect Jurassic back with another Mattel Jurassic World toy unboxing. Today we're looking at the Strike N Roar Giganotosaurus. This is the main attraction for the Jurassic World Dominion toy line. The movie's coming out soon, and this is obviously the big bad villain dino, and we're finally getting our hands on the core scale figure. We've looked at the super colossal figure, but this is the toy that scales with all the other toys, like the ones behind me on the shelf. This is the one that a lot of people have been looking forward to, and I cannot wait to get it out, do some comparisons with T-Rex, some other big bad dinosaurs, and just kind of get a feel of what this figure does, detail, all that stuff in an in-depth review. So I'm really excited about this. We're gonna go ahead and dive right in. Here it is in the box, right here. It's a nice, long, large box, kind of comparable with the T-Rex boxes that you see on the shelves at stores. Obviously, this is going to be a popular toy in the toy aisle, so they want to make the box presence pretty nice and big. Of course, you have all the key parts of the branding on here, the Dominion logo, the big T-Rex on the back. You also have Strike N Roar Giganotosaurus spelled out down there, as well as the action features, the striking, the chomping, the DNA scan code, the electronic roars, all that stuff kind of all up here, demoed on the front of the packaging. And then on the back of the box, it shows... again, sort of that action attack that's happening. You also have, it looks like it's eating Rugops here, which is a ferocious pack figure that hasn't come out yet. So they're using that as a demo. They also have advertisements for T-Rex and Therizinosaurus here as well. Yeah, I mean, this is just a really impressive box because the toy is quite large, as it should be. Again, it's one of the main big bad dinosaurs. But let's go ahead and get it out and start talking about it. That's what I'm really excited about. Go ahead and cut a couple ties here. Then I believe we just have to undo the feet from the bottom. A lot of these bigger figures have the feet kind of, yep, just as I thought. Just a couple little plastic ties to pop out here. And I think they go, no. They're usually pretty easy to figure out which way they should go. It's looking like right. I got one out. See if I can get the other one out. There we go. Whew. He said they never make it easy. All right. Let's go ahead and straighten her feet out. He, her, I'm probably going to be calling this all different kinds of things during the review, but they haven't said, I can get this foot to turn. Is this foot not going to... There we go. There we go. All right, now it's in place. Cool. All right, there it is. The Strike N Roar Giganotosaurus. Right off the bat, you're saying, wow, this thing's kind of lopsided, right? It does have an action feature that does not allow it to have sort of like a neutral pose. But I've been playing with this thing in the box, and you can get it to do some pretty cool, almost neutral poses. You just have to be clever with it, really. But let's go ahead and talk about the figure itself, the paint detail, all that stuff, and then we'll get to the action features too. But yeah, paint-wise, I'm actually pretty impressed with this thing. It's got that sort of dark, it's got the green with the dark color all the way down through the tail. Not quite to the tip of the tail, but at least down to the mid part of the tail. She's got big painted toe claws as well. No painted claws on the hands. Then, of course, you have the eyes. Face is looking really detailed, basically like the super colossal Giga, really. Got that pronounced ridge right here. And then the teeth aren't painted, which I love. They're actually plastic inserts, which they've been doing this with the T-Rexes lately too. So you can be as rough as you want on these teeth, and they will never mark up and look bad because they're actually casted plastic of the tooth color. Then we also have a light painted plastic mouth with like pink in it. So it's actually casted plastic. So again, no like scratching is going to happen there when you're being really rough with the figure, which is nice. And then besides paint wise, there's also the marbling effect in this figure. So you can see it has some of this like flecking here. It has a big chunk of it right here. That looks kind of crazy. The feet have some of that marbling in between them. More marbling on this side. So a lot of the Mattel figures this year have that marbling effect. Some of them have it more than others. Some figures, figure to figure, it's a little bit more obvious on some than others, but this particular Giganotosaurus in my hand kind of has it pretty subtly, which I'm not mad about. Also has a lighter kind of color gradiating from the neck up into the bottom jaw that you can see here. So yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of paint on it, but what it has gets the job done, right? And then detail-wise, I'm really impressed with this thing. Again, it does have a lot of like scales and flecks and wrinkles and folds in the skin. It's got all of these harder, bigger scales along the back, the ridge. You can see the ridge is all sculpted all the way through the neck up to the head. So that looks really nice, all the way down to the tail. Tail has a bunch of sections in it, which we'll get to when we talk about action features and articulation. Looks like it even has a couple scars on the tail, on the side here. So it's already seen a little bit of damage, a little bit of battle damage, right? And then, yeah, that head just looks really detailed too. You can see all the little wrinkles there with the snout. So really cool. Great detail. And right now I have it in a really nice pose. So some people will say, you know, it's frustrating I can't get this in a neutral pose, but this pose I have it in right now is actually pretty cool looking. It is looking a little bit to the side, but it doesn't look awkward or anything like that. So I kind of like this pose more than most. But let's talk about the action features. I think that is a little bit more controversial on this figure for some people. So we'll go ahead and take a look at it, and then you can make your mind for yourself. It has two different actions. It has a button right here on the top, which you can see sculpted into place, and a button right here on the bottom. The button on the bottom is going to do the roar. And the button on top is going to do this thrashing. You can do them in junction, which I think looks really good. So yeah, and you can do this like slowly too. You don't have to do it fast. It kind of has like different clicks to it. So you can do it really slow and kind of click them up wherever you want them to go, and then do the roar. And make them thrash back. So it's kind of like a pumping button almost. Hopefully everyone can hear me over all the noises. And then the roar goes independently of that. So again, I kind of like to have him posed at the top of his, at the top of his lunge, if you will, for that nice neutral pose. So those are the main two actions. And then of course you can pose those or kind of pair those with articulation to do a couple other action features. So the arms have basic back and forth articulation. The jaw articulation is top and bottom, but it's all tied to the roaring button. And then the legs have independent articulation per leg. So you can do running, you know, stuff like that, which is nice. And then you can also, you know, make them bend down and bite figures, which I do have. I think I do have a victim here somewhere. Didn't I have like a, yeah, here we go. We got Owen. Let's go ahead and see how Owen chomps up. And there's a little idea of scale too. You can see how Giga, you know, kind of sizes up next to a human figure. Pretty big guy, right? Pretty big figure. So you can thrash him around. Pretty cool. And then yeah, it just throws him around, right? Pretty savage. You can hear all the different roars it has too. It has quite a few. It has just the basic like attack noise, and then for roars it has kind of a hiss, nice long roar, it's kind of a haunting roar. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different combinations you can do with that action feature to get it to do different things. But I hope you can get an idea, just me playing with it, kind of how it almost reminds me of Primal Attack with when you use the roaring kind of with this button on top. You can kind of get some really nice natural movements too. Pretty cool stuff. let's go ahead and see how it compares to some of the other figures, some of the other contemporary larger Predator figures, right? You've seen how it compares to little old Owen here. I did want to compare it to a vehicle too, just because we know from the trailers it's probably going to be facing off with at least one Biosyn vehicle, and that's the Jeep Gladiator. And the Jeep Gladiator that we have is the big RC one, which is a pretty big vehicle anyway. I mean, even next to a human, it's kind of massive. It's almost oversized, but I still kind of appreciate the way Giga looks next to it. I mean, still looks kind of big, but not too big. The vehicle, I mean. But Giga looks like it's pretty nice. So I think toy photographers are going to have a good time making Giga, face off against this thing. I think there's gonna be some pretty cool shots out there. So there it is with the vehicle. Again, something that we'll probably see more of when we, obviously know what's going to happen with the film. Of course, we have to do a comparison with Indominus Rex. I think the Indominus Rex actually has Giga DNA in it. Indominus Rex is the original Jurassic World big bad guy. Definitely one of my favorites. This figure was always massive, and it's just as massive next to Giga here. It's actually a lot bigger than Giga. If you can get an idea on camera, it's definitely taller. Here, let me see if I can. Sorry, these figures are huge. It's definitely taller. It's definitely longer. Let's see if I can. It's definitely a longer figure. Not much longer since Indominus has. Well, no, they're about the same length. But it's definitely just bigger in general. The head is way bigger. You can just see how big the head is from there. See how far back the back of the neck goes compared to Giga's is up here. So definitely have a bigger head on the Indominus Rex versus the Giga. But they have a pretty decent likeness to each other, which makes sense, again, because they do share DNA. So that's it next to the Indominus Rex. And we'll go ahead and put it next to T-Rex. Come on, that's we know from the prologue at least that it fights the T-Rex there. This is the Dominion T-Rex. Another really fun figure. And it scales pretty nicely. They're roughly the same size of one another. I would say they're basically the exact same size, same length, same height. I will just say again that Giga has the smaller head, which, bears mentioning that the T-Rex head is pretty massive on this figure because it's supposed to be, it swallows humans whole, so it's kind of a bigger head in general than what we're used to. But even then, I think, discounting that, the Giga head is still just conspicuously small for some reason. I feel like it could be a little bit bigger. I mean, it still feels sized right overall. Just when you stick it next to some of these other figures, it's like, wow, that's a small head you have there, Giga. Your head's kind of small, which is kind of funny. But these look great next to each other. Obviously, they're great for fighting, as they should be, since they will be fighting. Really cool stuff. Awesome stuff. And there's one other comparison I want to do because I just feel like it's worth doing from some of the rumors I've heard. We have Therizinosaurus, one of the cooler Dominion figures to come out, one of my favorites. And how does the Giga compare to that? Well, we already know that Therizo isn't supposed to be as big as a T-Rex, but she's still pretty big. And next to Giga, she's pretty big too. Just as tall, definitely not as long, definitely not as big overall, but can definitely hold her own. Like again, you can see the height difference there. They're basically the same height. It's just Giga is just a bigger animal altogether. But there you get a comparison of them. Let's go ahead and get T-Rex back in here. We can see all three large Dominion carnivores that we know about, and how they all stack up to one another. So pretty decent scale, right? When you look at all of them together, the movie scale is just such a fun thing to build out on, which is why I know a lot of people were really excited for this figure because, yeah, we had the super colossal Giganotosaurus, but it didn't scale with the rest of these figures, with all the other figures that I know all of us collect. And now we have a you know, a Giga that obviously scales with all the rest of the stuff really nicely. So again, I know that action feature is going to be a little decisive for some people just because it's kind of wild, but I hope you know, watching this review, you kind of get an idea that you can work around it. You can pose the figure in some really cool ways if you just know how to manipulate the action feature correctly. Again, right now I have it like in this sort of like hunting, rotating rotated hip, but you can do that on both sides. You can actually just move it around like this to get it to, well, I guess you have to press the button too, right? So that's the other pose I like it on, looking to the left. So I think that's actually a really nice pose. That doesn't look offensive to me. It looks basically neutral. No, it's not facing forward perfectly, but that doesn't bother me, right? So really nice. I love how they did the tail too. I guess I haven't really talked about how the tail has like this really cool articulation too. We haven't seen this on any Mattel figure yet. Usually they just have a big solid tail, but they went ahead and added a couple hinges on this one too, which gives it a little bit of a wiggle and a wave that lets you do, again, a little bit more added articulation. Almost forgot about the scan code that's hidden back here too. Look, that's hidden pretty perfectly in the spine, right there. I thought the scan codes this year have been hidden really well, and Giga is no exception. So, man, this figure is awesome. I'm actually going to be doing some toy photography for this. I'm inspired. I don't usually do a lot of toy photography, but this thing just looks really, really cool. Really, really awesome. Really, really menacing, right? So, yeah, the only thing I wish that this figure was able to do was just having a little bit bigger of a head and maybe having that swallowing feature like the Indominus and the T-Rex have, just because it is supposed to be this, you know, big bad dino. I feel like it should be able to swallow some dinosaurs or swallow some people to back it up. But having that bigger head, I think, would make a difference. Do I think that they'll probably do another super colossal or another core scale Giga? I don't think so. So this is kind of what you have to get. I know some people are like, well, I'll just wait for them to make another one, but I feel like this is probably what we're going to get. You know, they haven't made a bunch of Indominus Rexes necessarily. The Indominus Rexes are usually just repaints of that first figure that we got. So if you want Giga, this is probably going to be the one you're going to be tracking down, for better or for worse. But again, I think it looks really, really nice. And it's going to look really good on the shelf next to all the other Mattel Jurassic figures. And I love that they did the plastic teeth with this one too, versus the painted teeth. Again, that just makes it so much better to mess around with, even doing a review like this, just so you don't have to worry about all the paint scratching and all that stuff. So really, really cool stuff. The closest video out, let's do a couple more action demonstrations, just so everyone can see how that looks from every angle. Looks pretty gnarly, right? It is violent. I love that pose too. That's just really, really cool. I wish I could lock the jaws in place, because that looks so cool. Which you can. You can always like kind of stick something down here if you want. And I will say that the hinge in the middle of the body, you know, it's really solid stuff. I know the Thrash and Throw T-Rex had a hinge in the middle of its body, and I always felt like the paint was rubbing and all that stuff, but this is actually a really smooth joint they have in here, so I don't feel like it's going to break or anything like that, which is nice. I do wish this thing posed. I wish the legs went a little bit lower. There we go. I can get the legs a little bit lower. That looks even better, actually, for a neutral pose. So, yeah. Strike N Roar Giganotosaurus. Coming out this June. Be on the lookout for it. Going to be a really hot toy, I'm sure. But I think I have played with this toy as much as I can, and hopefully sold you on it as much as I can, because I really like it. I think it's awesome. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope you, you know, get a positive feeling about this awesome Giganotosaurus toy, because I sure do love it. But again, I'm Tim, Collect Jurassic. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and enjoy Jurassic World Dominion if you don't watch one of my videos before you see it. So that's all I got. See you next time.